Why hello and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. I'm your host and guide, Zollin Ironshield. And today, my friends, I want to do a guessing video on what they might aim for next in Lord of the Rings Online MMO for the next expansions, okay? I'm going to give some ideas of what I would hope and might be cool, but again, I will be excited for whatever they do. But for this video today, we're going to talk about it. We're going to look at the map here in Lord of the Rings Online. This is my character, Zollin Ironshield. If you don't already know him, I am Zollin Ironshield. This is me. I hope you're having a great day in Middle-earth, and don't forget to throw a like on there if you do enjoy. But what new expansions might they aim for? So where we are right now in the Lord of the Rings Online is, let's just do a baseline. When this game first came out many years ago, it started with the Shadows of Angmar, right? That was the original expansion. We started in Eriador, the Shire, Breland, the Lone Lands, Rivendell, Eredluin, all these areas here. Angmar was kind of the max level location. And then, of course, the Entomors for the PvP zone, or PvMP in Lord of the Rings Online, Monster Play. So, what will their next goals be? Okay, so after that, they gave us Moria, right? And after that, we got Lothlorien and Southern Mirkwood, and that was around level 60, level 65, and then we got the Rohan stuff, and we're going to glance over a bunch of expansions right now, but mainly the big Rohan expansion. There was some small ones in between, like they added some little regions like Forachel, the Great River region, a couple different things. Those are locations up here in the north and over here. But again, the point of this video is what will be next. So Rohan into Gondor, then we got Mordor, then they went up and they started working with Erebor, the Iron Hills, Ered Mithrin, and then they gave us the Vales of Anduin with the Bjornings, and we moved up into Gundabad, the ancient homeland of the dwarves, which is where we are right now, right? Okay, so that's where we're at, level 140. We had two ones. We had the first Gundabad expansion, then we had the level up to 140, which was the Fate of Gundabad. So that's where we are right now. Where will they go next? This is a theorizing video, okay? So my gut feeling is that they are going to do... There are probably two main thought processes. Do we continue with the dwarves and maybe do some other cool thing up into the Fortawaith, right? Up into the north. I feel like with everything going on right now that might not be their goal. They might hold on to that as a back burner thing for the future. Who knows? Maybe they will. Depends on how much they've ended the story here with Gundabad. I will say the time of me making this video, I have not finished the chapter quest quite yet. I'm partway through it, so I'd like to see the ending of that to see if it seems like they're going to continue there. But we've had two expansions with dealing with this in the dwarves, so I'm assuming they'll probably sum it up, right? We might then move into something else, and maybe we'll move into things after. I think this would be one of the coolest ideas. It's the fourth age right now in Lord of the Rings Online. So you start basically at the first book of Lord of the Rings series, okay? You start right before the Fellowship of the Ring book starts. You move through as kind of this side extra hero where you're really important what you're doing, but you're not the main quest we hear about in the books of Lord of the Rings, but you occasionally are helping them or helping people around the Fellowship, right? That's kind of like how they guide your character through the story. I love it. I think the Lord of the Rings Online is the best. They've done the best job with holding on what's true to the lore of this game, and even the stuff they add makes sense, and I think Tolkien would value and appreciate. Even if he might necessarily, 100% agree with, he'd appreciate the way LOTRO does it, because they hold on really good to the lore. LOTRO, just always do that, guys. Standing Stones. You guys, it's always been fantastic. Keep that up. What you've done with the dwarves has been fantastic. None of that stuff with retaking Gundabad, Tolkien didn't really talk about it. He just mentioned in brief passing. So the stuff Lord of the Rings Online has done has been fantastic, okay? In that area, including the Iron Garrison with Moria. I love how much they've worked with the dwarves because I love dwarves. So if you're someone who hasn't played Lord of the Rings Online, you won't know all this fantastic extra stuff about the dwarves, right? After the Fourth Age. So now what will they do? I think that they will move into probably doing stories more towards Gondor, which would be cool, and going south into Harondor or Harad and Umbar, okay? I think that would probably be the best next goal, unless they want to fill out areas over here, right? And do some other story over here. But I think what this would be better is maybe adding another region. Okay, so they added recently, one of the newest things was Before the Shadow, which wasn't expansion on the original 140, okay? It is the newest expansion, but it was for the beginning levels. So they added Swanfleet and Cardolan, okay? That was the most recent thing. These areas are fantastic. They're gorgeous visual updates. It's really fun to have a new area. It was very smart because new players coming in, if you are a new player, it's really fun if you have that expansion. It was real cheap. They made it like $20, I think, for both of them, but it's a lot of content. Basically, it's really, really nice to start in a different area. Though the original starting areas, in my personal opinion, are fantastic as well. So it kind of gives you a new player, a brand new place to choose, or a returning player, a new place to try out with a new character. But there's a lot of areas they do not have. We just have up to Ered Luin. We don't have the Grey Havens, which I've always wanted, or Linden, or any of those areas over there. That would be really cool to go into. But I think from a storytelling perspective, that would be better as little additions like Forage was, or the Great River, just like little attachments later. Like, oh, here's a new region to do some questing and some things in. I think if they're going to do the main core questing where we'll get another level up, it's either going to have to be continuous of what they're doing right now in the north, in Fortwaith, right north of Gundabad, or more parts of Gundabad, or we need to start talking about the east or the south, okay? Again, there's a lot more things they could do in between over here, right? In between locations. There's a lot of stuff in Middle-earth that hasn't been filled out yet, but we have a lot of the core things filled out that we hear about in the Lord of the Rings books, at least. So I think really a continuous story of now we're helping Aragorn, right, King of Gondor now, the Fourth Age, with things happening later. Because we have some stories from Tolkien about that, but not a whole lot. So I think that we could really get into that in a good way. And I'm going to say right now, I have much more faith in the Standing Stones team to bring out a good rendition of lore, even if it's being made up, right? That will follow along the lines of what Tolkien would appreciate in talking about these stories and things they have to handle with, compared to other things we've seen recently in recent times that was talking about the past that wasn't quite as lore accurate. Yeah, anyway, we're not going to go into that for this video, but you can look at my Zollin's opinion playlist for that. But the main thing is I'm excited about is another thing they could do is they could talk more about Mordor. We do not have past Mount Doom. We only have this area of this area of Mordor. We have none of the Sea of Nurn. I'd be very interested to see what they did with this area, because again, I will mention it in this video. I might have been hinting at Rings of Power, the TV series. I have a much more faith in Lord of the Rings Online team for being more faithful to lore, even made up lore, of what would be right and realistic. But I'd be interested in what they do with this area, because Rings of Power stuck the whole situation of Mordor right over here. They don't have anything. I would like to see what they do, because Tolkien does have maps written in this area, right? So that would be really cool. So my thoughts are Harad, stories in Harad would be really cool. Umbar, they just did a lot of stuff with visual updates for characters. They haven't done it for all the races, but just the humans, where they gave a lot more visual options for people. So I think it'd be kind of cool if they started adding Harad in different areas down there. Maybe even go farther south. Maybe go down the continent, past Harad, into the jungles where we know the Mama Killer from. And then we know from Tolkien that there's giant gorillas, right? Again, this is really pushing it, and I don't know what rights LOTRO could do with that. But again, if it's totally kind of made up at that point, and they're just following the guidelines of the little bit of stuff Tolkien said about it, they could probably do whatever they want, really, right? In that way. I'm not sure how much they'd have to follow things perfectly, right? But again, they have the rights to Aragorn's character as king, so they could write a whole little story there of things you do for him, right? Oh, I need you to go to Umbar because we're having a problem with, now that I've reunited the kingdom, you know, Umbar's royal or whatever leader is having troubles with the pirates trying to take over the kingdom or something. I don't know, there could be some really cool stories down there, or Harad, or, you know, if we go to Rune, maybe, you know, find the blue wizards, that kind of thing, or, you know, go help Rune rebuild after the wars, because they're having civil wars between the evil people who followed Sauron and the people who have been fighting this whole time, because as we know in the stories from Tolkien, actual lore, the blue wizards went to Rune, and the reason Rune didn't send massive armies, the Easterlings, is because they were divided. as in a good way. Sauron had corrupted a huge majority of them, their leadership, and a big part of them didn't want to because of the Blue Wizards, and were staying basically loyal and not evil. They were staying good, and they were fighting, basically. And that was the reason the Battle of the Pelennor Fields didn't turn, and Tolkien says that in some of his notes, that the Blue Wizards were very important in that area. So that could be something cool that we could do. We could just meet the Blue Wizards, right, or something. It'd be kind of cool, right? We know they have names now too from the more recent writings. They didn't originally, but Tolkien gave them names later. The Sea of Rune, you could have multiple regions around this. There's nothing to the right of southern Mirkwood, and then the Dead Marshes. Everything over here, there's nothing there. And that's a huge amount of land. You could have 8 regions in this area, right? It's huge. And again, this game is already such a big game, and people like that about this game, okay? People like that. If you want to explore Middle-earth, this is the best game to explore Middle-earth. Other games look great, you know? Shadows of Mordor looks like a great game. Shadows of Mordor does not at all follow the lore correctly. Even the made-up stuff is just so bonkersly crazy, but it's super fun. Shadows of Mordor is a great game. And no one's expecting really Shadows of Mordor to give perfect lore. There's some stuff in there that follows the lore, and that's cool, but not as good as Lord of the Rings Online does it. Lord of the Rings Online is a very respectful version to the lore, which is why I really encourage them to always stick to that the best they can. I understand that it is an MMO, it is a game, they're gonna have to do some creative stuff, but they still gotta stick to that. So anyway, those are kind of my thoughts. Those are the big ones. Now, another thing that would be cool in the future is, but I think we're far off from this still, is finding other Dwarven clans in the East, maybe going to different places, other continents. We can't really go to the Undying Lands because that would kind of break the lore, right? Like, unless you were an elf, like, it'd have to be just that race that could do that. I don't think that would really do it. They could do it in storytelling, maybe, like a Flash seeing it. That'd be kind of cool, but actually exploring it would kind of break the lore, and that would be a lot of work. Excuse me. That'd be a lot of work. So I really think their goals are to really start spreading, either refining some locations in the middles of these locations. Because again, if you look up, I hover all these dots, these are all locations, right? Evendim, Shire. Yonder Shire was added in between Evendim and the Shire. It's basically the northern mountainous Shire area. That was really cool. But again, Breeland, so the North Downs. So if you look at a map of this above, a visual map. In fact, I could get that visual map for you. I will show you that right now. Hold on. Ready? Hey, I found it online. All right, here's what I wanted to show you. So there are 2 maps, all right? So we got this map of Middle-earth. I will link both these in the description for you. These are from online different places, so full credit to the people who made them. This one was on Reddit. It was on here, right here, for this person from this one, by that person right there. Okay, so full credit to them. I will link it for you after. But as you can see here, here's Middle-earth. This is what I'm talking about with area that is not being used. See up in the top right there? That whole area has not been used. So we really only have, okay, as you can see all these roads, this is the areas they've added so far in Middle-earth. Now I want to show you the map I was really talking about. So you can see a lot of Eriador, the southern Eriador has not been used. A lot of the left of Gondor has not been used. So we've kind of followed the book series and then gone off north a little bit. That's pretty much about it. So let's bring up this one. This is LOTRO Google Map. Okay, I love this. So as you can see, everywhere that looks fake is not made. Okay, it's not created. So again, this is a little squished, as in Rune goes out a little farther over here on the right and stuff, and a little farther south. But if you see, if we go up close to this, you can zoom in from anywhere. We only have certain areas. You can see what has been made in LOTRO. Okay, I love this map. I forgot where it was, and I looked for it for a couple minutes and found it. So as you can see, this is what's been made so far. This looks updated. Let's see if Gundabad is added. Yes, Gundabad is. So as you can see, we could add tons of new locations over here. This is Cardolan and Swan Fleet that they added in. Again, so basically this is like a Google version, right, of the map. It even has the coordinates that you use in game up here at the top to look around in. But you can see we have all these locations. So pretty much we have, starting in the Shire, right, and Evendim over here. So the Shire is right here. When you have the Shire, did they put in Yonder Shire? Yonder here? I think Yonder Shire is there. I'm not actually sure. Maybe this is older. Maybe this is an older version, because I don't actually see Yonder Shire. But I thought they did Isn't Cardinal and Swanfleet there? Let me just double check for you. Yeah, it is. Okay, no, it's there. I'm just flipping. No, Yondershire is there. It's this area up here. We're good. Yep, it should be there somewhere. Well, we'll figure it out later. Yeah, that's Yondershire right there. Just the weird color did change for me. But you can kind of see all the different versions. So pretty much starting in the Hobbit movies, which is Thorin's Hall and the Shire, and then they went through and they added all of Rivendell and the Lone Lands. And then we went to Moria, which again, they don't really show Moria. In fact, I think they show it off on the side. They do. Here's the off the side of, here's Moria that they added, right? And the inside of Moria. And then, which would have been located right here in the middle. And then they gave us Lothlorien, and then they went to there. And then we went through the Rohan, Isengard areas, down into the Gondor areas, into Mordor. Basically the 3 books, right? The 3 books. And then we have up here, and then there's Gundabad up there in the top right. So this is updated. I was just making sure. So now what could they do? They added a couple side things like Forachel, and then they went north and did all of basically the north, right? But what we don't have in the north is the Easterlings, right? Rune, all of this could be new locations over here, right? They only gave us part of Mirkwood, right? So again, there's a lot of space to add things in here. They could go north into stuff up here, right? Into the Fortawaith if they wanted to, past the mountains. That would be cool to learn about. They could add some more stuff in the mountains up here, in actual fitting stuff. Again, this area they could add here, but I think the most logical thing would be for another step is to possibly add new regions of Gondor over here. And then maybe we're dealing with Umbar and pirates, right? And the island out here. You could sort of see the island pieces a little bit from the visuals from the shore, but that's about it. So they haven't even added this island. But then they could add down here, right? Because Umbar's somewhere down here in the nothingness zone of this map. And then they could also add the other part of Mordor, which would all be this area, right? So again, remember, this map has been cut down. The Middle-earth map is actually quite a bit bigger. Oh, interesting. Why are there multiples? Oh, that's weird. I'm not sure. It's freaking me out. But the map is actually quite a bit bigger. If I did a line, it'd be like out to here, right? Middle-earth. And this would go out a little bit farther, too, at the top. But, and again, remember, Middle-earth itself actually has a whole nother continent down here. It's a little bit similar to our world map, slightly, not quite, but if you look at the actual Ardar map, it's quite similar. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the next areas that could be good, Rune or going south. Those are my guesses. So I'm either they're going to continue the story of the dwarves, all right, or they're going to move into working with maybe the story of after the war, helping Gondor and Rohan, maybe, right? With and maybe helping the Easterlings or helping Umbar, kind of like stabilize, right? Because Sauron's been corrupting them for hundreds of years. It's not going to just stabilize overnight, right? And Tolkien talks about this, that Aragorn had to do a lot after the War of the Ring, right? Which is the Fellowship, the Return of the King, and the Two Towers books. So those are my thoughts. Those are my guesses. What do you guys think? What are ideas that you think would be fun? I'm totally down with them to go into different parts of Middle-earth that aren't quite on the map, like farther south into Umbar and Harad, over into the east, where maybe we meet another clan of dwarves, and we help the east, and we help the little wizards, or we go north in the Fortawaith and fight dragons and ice worms and chase down evil Angmar sorcerers. Sure. I mean, it does follow it is a kind of full circle how they've done it with the dwarves, going back to the north and having to deal with Angmar's evil people, basically the ancient lands of the Witch King, who people still serve the Witch King, right, who are evil, and foul spirits and stuff. So that could still be cool too. I would love to even go to other continents in the future, but I think that's a little unrealistic. So I think my big guesses will be, it'll be either be continuous to the north of what the dwarves are doing. It'll be some fill-in spots possibly on the map that, as I showed you, aren't there, or it'll be the Easterlings are going down to Harad or Umbar helping Aragorn in King of Gondor now, and Arwen, who's queen, in the Fourth Age, which would be really cool. I'd be really down for that, especially if they make some stuff up and then try to follow the core things that Tolkien gave us a couple sentences about what happens after. And we do know that in the appendices, there's a bunch of information that what happens after. We even know when Aragorn passes away and all that stuff. But again, remember, there's some stuff that's left out. Like, what does Aragorn do for the next 100 and blah, blah, blah years as king reigning, right? He's obviously a great king. He obviously brings a lot of people together. Tolkien told us some stuff. Even he brings peace, I think Tolkien says, from what I remember in the books, with the Easterlings and Harad. They actually, like, become friendly, which is cool. That would be a really cool thing for us to deal with. Some of the evil people who are being evil, and some that are good. I don't know. What do you guys think? Have a great day in Middle-earth. Thanks for watching if you did. Thanks to Skumley for being a royal guard. Subscribe button's there if I earned it. Again, I do lots of Lord of the Rings content on this channel, not just Lord of the Rings Online, but this is a fun guessing episode. What will they do next in Lord of the Rings Online? Really excited, because we know there's a level up coming soon, so this year. So we'll see. Subscribe button, videos, other playlists. I do voiceovers in Lord of the Rings Online. Baruch Hazar Kuzar, menu. Have a great day in Middle-earth, and stay happy, my friends. See ya. Baruch Hazar!